Hello, Cardinal fans. Thank you for joining us at Cardinals Nation 24/7, doing a special edition podcast episode of the trading of Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm Jared Redwine, joined by Larry Cox, and as always, the one and only Chris Lawless. Hello, gentlemen.
How you doing, guys?
Fantastic. I'm a little excited. I know you guys are too. We were all up late watching the news trickle in about the trade for Arenado. It's pretty exciting. It's been over a year in the making, and we've all been excited and talking about it, wanting it to happen. Well, it finally has happened, and we were wanting to put something together for everybody because there's still so many things up in the air we don't know, and we probably won't know until Monday. But we didn't want to wait. We're excited to talk about it, and we at least want to talk about what we do know, and that's that we're getting Nolan and Arenado. What are your thoughts on the trade, Chris? What were your first impressions?
Well, first off, I know that I figured we'd be having another exclusive show soon. I figured it would be Yachty, getting signed, but just to hear the news was, man, I can't even put it into words. I mean, you'd heard some rumors out there that we were in talks, and Mozeliak in his interviews kind of didn't put the fire out. But for it to happen the way that it did, and the details of what we heard so far, we fleeced them. I can't believe it. So it's definitely exciting.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. This is like the Goldschmidt trade of 2 years ago, but even better. What about you, Larry? What did you think when you first saw the news?
Well, at first you always get the whole fake news accounts and all that. Then you kind of settle down a little bit, and then you look at it, and then you wonder, okay, so who did we give up? What prospects? And you have that fear of, we just wiped out our whole minor league system to get this guy. And then you get elated, you get excited, and it's, wow, finally things are looking up and excitement's back in the air. And
yeah, I had the same fear when I well, first of all, the fake accounts do exist. Just ask one of our brothers in uniform, asked Duffy. He reported it a couple hours early because he saw fake Ken Rosenthal account and thought it was a real deal. Holy hell, guys, we got him. I'm like, that's a fake account, bro. And he's like, damn it. He was so that he had the highs and lows. He had the heart attack graph yesterday. He was pumped up, disappointed. I thought the same thing you did, Larry. I thought, oh, great, here goes Liberatore, here goes Gorman. Who knows what else? I didn't think they would, but it's hard to tell. And in COVID times and him wanting to leave. And the shocking part about the trade for me is we don't know all the specifics yet. And we probably won't know until Monday, but we do know we didn't give up a lot. We didn't give up any of our top prospects. We gave up some mid-level guys, maybe even lower than that. And Colorado's eating money. That much we do know, upwards of $50 million. This is a slight. Even MLB Network last night called this a steal of a deal. This is a great move for the Cardinals. I can't believe nobody else was involved. So I think personally, there's the factors involved are Nolan Arenado's wanted to be a Cardinal. That's been made publicly known between people on the team and in roundabout way publicly. He tries to keep things close to his vest, except for his dislike of the Rockies GM. But I think he wanted to play here. The Cardinals really wanted him because he's agreeing to do a lot of things, which we'll get into, but deferring money, waiving no trade clause, all those things. A lot of things had to happen, which is why the details aren't out yet. And we won't know until the beginning of the week when the players union and the front office for Major League Baseball are back working. But a lot going on here. I mean, Chris, what do you think as far as him going to third? What he's obviously our everyday third baseman, but how do you see him in the lineup? I mean, we finally have someone with Goldschmidt that is can put fear into opponents and give Goldschmidt some protection and make him an even better player.
Yeah, I mean, initially you're excited because it's a bat, and that's something that the team obviously needed. But you're also getting one of the best gloves out there, and so it's a double win. Putting him in the lineup, obviously, that puts some sort of protection out there, and then you could put Dylan Carlson or something ahead of him to see some good pitches. But to have him and Goldschmidt on the corners, it's kind of reminiscent of having Scott Rowland and Albert Pujols. I mean, that's obviously it's maybe too soon to tell, but one day Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are going to be Hall of Famers. And I know we're getting on the back end of their career, but this is exciting, and not just the buzz around St. Louis fans. Finally something's happening that looks like the ownership wants to win. Nobody can debate that with a move like this. So, I mean, it's exciting both on the offense and defense side of the ball on getting a player like this.
I agree. Larry, you have to figure, and I wanted to hear your input because I know you do a lot of checking into things and you pay close attention, but this has to probably give us, Larry, what do you think the best first and third corners in baseball, at least the National League?
The best comment I remember back when we got Roland, Woody Williams had made the comment that Roland could save 4 runs a game just with his glove, and they didn't care if he hit 200. And now you're bringing a guy that, his average away from Coors Field is about 263 over the years, his career-wise numbers. But, the gold gloves, the highlight reels, that's excitement back in the ballpark again. Just it's reminiscent, like I said, of my time of seeing Roland come in, the bare hand throws. And then you add in, people forget DeYoung was actually a finalist for a gold glove. So now you've got 3 very, very solid defensive players in the infield. Then if you bring back Molina, you've got another gold glove caliber defender behind the plate. Well, then you bring in Wainwright on a day that he starts. He's got a gold glove.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you've got left fielder or right field with O'Neill, he's got a gold glove. We could potentially have 6 or 7 gold glovers on the field at one time. And then, like I said, we all still speculate a little bit, I guess. What if we bring Wong back? Now you've got 7 or 8 gold glove players on the field at one time. So that's pretty incredible. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, I agree with you. This and what Chris and I touched on our special edition podcast with the Waino re-signing on Friday is this actually makes also the pitching staff that much more better. Because we were talking about Wainwright re-signing. You have to look about things, beyond the individual stats. I mean, Sco Rowland made some amazing plays and will probably get in the Hall of Fame just based on his defensive ability alone. And Yachty will be carried that way for a lot, but you have to think how many balls in the dirt did they talk about last year with Goldschmidt? Him scooping balls out of the dirt or making stretch plays, being so good at first base to eliminate what would normally be an error or even an infield base hit. Just having him there. And then you look at Arenado and just some of the amazing plays he's made. And the guy is only 29 years old. I mean, we're talking about signing Wainwright and Yachty that are 39 and 40. So even if he stays for the full length of this 8-year contract, he's going to be 37. He could finish his career as a Cardinal. And whenever he's not only, even if he goes out this year and hits 250, his gold glove is the main difference. That's what I tell everyone. You have to do both. Bader is good with speed, make some catches, but you have to have a good balance of things in the lineup. But I love seeing him at the hot corner. I remember watching Roland, like you said, scoop those plays, be 15 feet on the opposite side of the foul line and just throwing that ball. And Carp, it looks like he's, it looks like one of us out there having to get the ball, take 3 or 4 steps, and then try to throw somebody out. It's going to be nice. It's going to cut out not even just errors, a lot of hits. That's going to make it's going to put a lot of pressure on base runners. Oh, I got to get this. I got to hit this thing. I got to get the hell out of the box because I got Nolan Arenado throwing to Paul Goldschmidt, probably 2 of the best defensive baseball players in their position in our time, Gold Glove wise, as well. It's like I got to get to the bag. And the pitchers are going to have confidence. I'm going to pitch to contact. I got these 2 studs on the corners. I'm not worried about. I'm going to let like you said, Larry, all the defense is the name of our game. And, we went out and added a bat, and that's why I was worried about Wong. I said, if we don't add a bat, we have to keep our defense because we can't give up a bunch of runs. But this changes the whole game for us.
Well, the other thing is even like, say, a bad defender at the corners, what did that do to Goldie, having to play a little harder to field those balls in the dirt? Is there a fatigue factor at his age that, he carries that to the plate when he goes to at bat, that he's dug 4 or 5 out of the dirt or blocked it with his chest or whatever to dig them out. Now you got a guy that, I mean, I don't know how many bad throws I've ever seen the guy make,
Yeah.
Probably one hand.
Not very many. That's a good point too. And if Goldie's not having to stretch and lay out for balls and because Nolan's got a hell of an arm, and if he's throwing that ball and Goldschmidt's like, all I got to do is get to the bag, and I think he's coming to my chest. All I got to do is put it in the glove. That's going to be a lot less stress. I didn't even think about that part. So I'll jump into part of it here. It looks like when it's all said and done, rumor is the Rockies are going to eat $50 million roughly. Nolan is going to waive his no trade clause, which by reports he was more than happy to do. Added a year to the contract. It's a 1 year, $15 million at the back end of this contract. So it looks like overall it's going to be an 8-year, $214 million contract. And that averages out. I know it's different. It's less money as time goes on, more money early, but average out between the 8 years is just under $27 million a year. He is going to have an opt-out at 2021 at the end of this year. And from what I've read so far, it looks like he's going to have a second opt-out option at the end of 2022 next year. And he would still have full no trade clause. And I heard he's going to defer some money that I haven't seen. He may defer some money, but for me, the key is people were talking about the opt-outs. Well, number one, we didn't give up, we didn't give up Gorman or Liberatore or Walker or any of these studs we have coming up in the system. So even if it turns out to be 1 year, it's 1 year. Okay, he's gone, 30 million's gone, Fowler's gone, Carp's gone, Waino. They might look at repositioning or chasing a new free. That'd be a lot of money the following year. But due to the pandemic, I don't see, especially in this next year, 2021, I don't see the opt-out being a big deal. And I don't see him wanting to opt out. I don't think he's going to go to another team and get 30 million average salary for next year. Chris, what are your takes on overall value of the deal? 8 years, 214 million. And he's 29 now. I think he turns 30 in April. So, I mean, that would put him at 38 tops. I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the deal?
I mean, you can kind of compare it to a little bit of what the Blue Jays pay on getting Springer, and Springer a little older. The fact of the matter is, I think Arenado has been Mo's guy, been the guy that the Cardinals have wanted for so long. And to pull this off with, out giving up your top prospects, and he's not a 1 year rental, I mean, I don't know. I think all the cards played in the right favor here for us. And the fact that he was not happy in Colorado and wanted to play for a winning team. I know sometimes our fan base gets on us about making the playoffs isn't good enough, but the fact that we compete year in and year out. And for Colorado, you're looking at the Dodgers and Padres are kind of head and shoulders above where the Rockies are. So like his chance of winning, I think he's going to be happy in St. Louis. I don't think it'll take much as soon as he plays in Busch Stadium, I think he'll fall in love with it, much like a lot of other players do. Overall, like I said before, it's just a win-win. We finally got our guy that the fans can be crazy about, and ownership got the guy that they've been wanting for a couple of years now.
I think so too. I mean, this is it's another good move. We sat pat all this time, and they weren't doing any moves, and the fans were all, "Oh no, Wainwright's gone, Yachty's gone. It's going to be horrible. We're not doing anything." And then we go out and we spend more money than half the teams out there in a matter of 2 days. Larry, what do you think? What's your view on the contract? 8 years and 214 million. And what do you think any kind of restrictions or maybe obstacles those opt-outs cause for us?
Like Chris said, I mean, if you compare him to George Springer, Springer's a year older. We got a better player overall, I believe, than the Springer because he fit a need we had at third. I mean, we have outfielders coming out of our ears in the minor leagues or even in St. Louis. But then if you add in, basically what we did was we got $50 million. We get Arenado for free if he opt out. So we traded a bunch of mid-level prospects that, I mean, like Domber, where did he really fit in the future? And then a couple of the other guys, Rondon and those guys, where do they fit in? They're kind of blocked. Even so, we didn't give up the mid-level prospects. And if he leaves, we got Arenado for basically free for a year. So, and then the $50 million, you throw that in the cash reserve and you say, okay, now let's go get somebody else, if it happens. But like Chris said, or like you said, where's he going to go and get $30 million at 30 years old? Maybe the Phillies. I mean, we know they're good for it, right? But other than that, why would he opt out? People don't understand, I guess, as a fan, when you go into those stadiums, it's a seat. of red. And even Larry Walker, when he came, he couldn't believe that home atmosphere as a home player versus a visitor. And that's what fans can't fathom, that you go into Colorado, they're not packed stadiums. And so, when you get to play in that atmosphere all the time, every day, those are baseball fans. And that's the biggest part. They're baseball fans. So why would he opt out unless the wheels came off completely? So, and I think the reason he signed the deal in Colorado to begin with was they had, they were going to get younger, they were going to get better. And then all once LeMahieu's gone and, these guys are getting older, and it's like, oh, now what? The GM totally switched gears on him. So.
Well, even though we don't know the specific ball players involved yet, how shocked are you guys that it didn't take a Carpenter, Fowler, or Martinez contract, or an Andrew Kisner, or even an O'Neill or Bader Thomas combination to get it done? The fact that we were only giving up mid-level prospects, I mean, that's a shocker.
When we kicked this around amongst our group and our private messages for the admins for the group, we were throwing out the Gormans, Liberators, and we were adding Carlson and those names, thinking this is who they're going to have to give up. And then even last night, Jared and I, we were talking back and forth and said, they're going to have to eat a contract. Like, they're going to have to take Carpenter. They're going to have to take a Carlos Martinez. But then if you add in, Fowler, who has a no trade clause, he's already been a Rocky. So is he going to waive that to go back? Probably not. Especially if he knows Arenado's coming here, why would he go there to lose? So, I'm excited. I think Mo pulled off the deal of the century. I don't care what anybody else says.
Mm-hmm. He definitely has. I agree with you, Larry. And to answer your question, Chris, this is an amazing trade. In a lot of ways, this doesn't make a lot of sense on paper. The Rockies are basically paying $50 million for couple of mid to low level prospects that we probably weren't going to use. Gomber probably would have factored in our rotation somehow in the next couple of years, maybe a 4 or 5 guy, somewhere around there. But and some of the other guys we don't know, but we're dealing from an area of depth where we have. I am shocked on this deal. Just talking with Larry, we were thinking about money wise because how the Cardinals normally do business. I thought Carp has no trade protection, right? Fowler has no trade clause. Fowler's not going to go anywhere. Carp in the past said he would if it would help the team, which I think deep down, as much crap as we give him, myself included, for not being, I think he would. It wouldn't be like the best ending, and I would feel bad for the guy, but it would be best for the team. But that's why I thought Carlos Martinez. He's been on the bubble the last couple of years. A lot of things come with Carlos outside of the organization that the Cardinals don't like to deal with per se. So I thought him at 12 million, they declined Wong's option for 12.5, which I think they still had to pay $1 million buyout. Reducing Yachty is not going to make 20 million if and when he comes back. So I was thinking between those players with Wong being gone, trading away Martinez for the Arenado deal, that would kind of be salary wash, and it wouldn't be as big of a figure. And then next year with Dexter and Carp going away, you have a surplus of money. So that's how I saw the deal being played out. And then I also thought, well, Molina's for sure coming back. They're going to want Kinsler. They're going to want somebody. They're going to want one of our catching prospects. But it would make sense, right? If you're going to bring Molina back for a year or two, Kinsler's not going to be doing much good for us. He's already getting his late 20s. You're passing your prime years of baseball now for some of these young guys. So I definitely thought it was going to be a Martinez. When I originally heard this deal was going down, I was thinking more, not so much in money. I was thinking Martinez, $12 million. I was thinking Kisner, and I was thinking I'm thinking Harrison Bader. And then I was actually thinking 1 or 2 another future starter like a Woodford or an Oviedo, and I was thinking of decent bullpen guy, even somebody like a Helsley that we could part with. Our bullpen is probably where we have the most depth because now we have Hicks coming back. We still have Andrew Miller. We have Webb, who's good on the left side of the plate. We've got all these. I mean, you've got Alex Reyes to figure in. We've got all these arms in the bullpen. So I actually thought they were going to we want someone in the bullpen that could potentially close for us. And that still would have made sense to me to do that trade. But for this trade now, to giving up what we're giving up, and we're getting $50 million, Colorado's basically dumping his salary. They don't want him. They've got internal problems, and we're going to give you $50 million for these prospects. So basically, they're paying, even if he opts out, like Larry said, they're paying for it this year. And then they gave us $20 million for 3 or 4 guys, we think.
So my question is, as after the deal a couple years ago that we seen the over career playing of Randy Arozarena, which one of these players is the Randy of the group that we don't? I mean, we don't realize, but which ones are even going for sure? But I mean, that's always that fear. Now, I mean, I can hear our fans already. Which one of these guys is better than we think they are?
Chris, I'll throw this out real quick. I'm gonna take Lawless's answer before he says it. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Woodford or Oviedo if those guys go. I feel like one of those guys could be a solid 2 or 3 guy. And Colorado always has trouble getting pitchers because it's a hitter's park. Nobody wants to pitch there and have their ERA inflated. So, whoever goes pitching wise, they're probably not too excited about it, but I'm going to say those are the future. The guy, I got to do some research. The other guy they're talking about trading that's supposed to be a slugger, I'm not familiar with him.
No, I would probably out of those pitchers, Gomber's the most MLB ready of the bunch, but going to Colorado, that's where pitchers go to die. And so for them to go, it may be outside of Colorado before one, if any of them take off as anything productive. What I think is funny is, a lot of our fans want to talk about the splits home and away of Arenado, but those are the same fans that, Luke Voigt's splits don't matter in New York. They think if we would have held on to him, he would have hit 30, 40 home runs at Busch Stadium. But yeah, I would go with Gomber out of that group as probably the one that might be the missing piece.
So the Torres, this is the guy we got from Cleveland a couple years ago. He was a projected top 20 prospect at one time in the Cleveland Indians organization, or I'm sorry, the baseball team formerly known as the Indians in Cleveland. So him, I don't know a lot about because I think he struggled. And then you've got the Luke and Baker. They said his untapped power. That's the big guy. I would think that bat.
That's who I was thinking of, Larry. I couldn't think of his name, but
I had to look it up.
I have heard of him, but I couldn't. I've heard that we had him, but I haven't heard anything like detailed. Like this guy's, I've heard he's got power, but I haven't heard like this guy's coming up. He's going to be first base. I haven't heard, any future talk about it.
Right, and if you go look at Colorado right now, they actually have 2 of their top prospects are shortstop and a third baseman. So this for them is maybe saving money and them going younger to compete with the Padres. Because, if you look at the Dodgers across the board, they're not young. Their strength is their pitching too. They're not a young team, but you got the Padres building now for the future as well as play now. So maybe Colorado knows something about Baker. You transplant that power into Colorado. Maybe he does become McGuire-esque, who knows?
Yeah, that's why when I was talking to Chris, we were just kind of throwing names around. And I even said, somebody like O'Neill or even Jordan Walker, our third base prospect, would be great in a place like Colorado because O'Neill, if he starts making consistent contact, that boy can match. And let's not forget, like Chris said, the MLB tonight projected lineup doesn't even have O'Neill in it. He won a Gold Glove last year. O'Neill's got speed. He is a good defender. He has problem making contact, but I think all of the casual fans and a lot of the fans on our Facebook page, I'm not trying to tear them down or anything, but you have to, just how we talked about Yachty the other day, you have to put the Nolan Arenado trade into total perspective. This is going to make everyone better. Paul DeJong is not going to have to, he can play more of a true short. He's not, triple shortstops have a much, cover a bigger area in the infield. Paul DeJong also doesn't do well when he bats fourth. This is going to move him down. This is going to take pressure off all these guys. Okay, Goldschmidt was up. Now we got to score a run. Everyone's feeling the pressure. We need more runs. Everyone from Yachty to Goldschmidt to guys like O'Neill that are trying to step up and do the next best thing. Carlson, all these guys have all this pressure on them. I got to go up and I got to make something happen. We got to score a run. This takes a ton of pressure off everyone else in the lineup, including Goldschmidt. It's going to make the entire lineup better. And I think you'll see everyone's batting average increase. That's why I would like to see Edman, lead off. He's in the everyday lineup. And I'd like to see Carlson hit second. But what a lot of people don't think about either, okay, you've got Carlson hitting second. He's got some speed. He can hit from both sides, but then he's also going to see pitches to hit because you've got Goldschmidt and Arenado behind him. So people aren't going to say, well, I got these two guys coming up. I got to give him. That's why everybody was so much better when Pujols played. Pujols hit when he was in his prime and was a 300 hitter, made everyone around him better. So they're going to start. You're going to see Carlson getting pitches to hit because they're not going to pitch around him to get to Goldschmidt and Arenado. So you're not going to see that happen. That's going to make him better, help his confidence go up. And then you've got Goldschmidt. Last year, Goldschmidt was a 300 hitter again. It was a sample size. It was a short season, but he still didn't have anybody around him. And I think his average went up because they said, hey, they don't have anyone else that's a threat. We'll just pitch to Goldschmidt. We'll just pitch to him. That's going to be the same this year. They're going to say, well, crap, what if we do if we pitch around Goldschmidt? Oh, we got to pitch to Arenado. Or vice versa, however the lineup turns out. It's only going to make them better. When you've got the 1-2 punch, you've got Carlson, who's a top name prospect, was in the top 100 prospects again this year. Goldschmidt doesn't have to, not Goldschmidt, DeYoung doesn't have to, the other Paul, doesn't have to do cleanup. He can go 5-6. If Molina comes back, he can slot down. Then something like this, and I'm not going to say I like having Bader in the lineup every day, but this makes Bader's 200 average. It doesn't project it as much. It's not as big of a factor because we don't have a bunch of 200 hitters, right? You can have guys like Bader in the lineup now that are more solid defensively because you're not counting on him. Whenever everyone's hitting 200, not scoring runs, you're looking at the whole lineup. This is like having a pitcher bat. You stop doing that, analyzing, and also it takes pressure off of Bader. Okay, I'm the one guy in the lineup. I don't have to hit. I can play good defense and I can run. Hopefully he's not the starting lineup still because I still don't want to see it. But for all the casual fans out there, I mean, this makes sense all the way up and down the order for everyone. So that's my thought. It makes the whole team better, just like having Yachty in the lineup makes the pitching stats better and it makes everything better. He threw out over 40% of would-be base stealers last year. Still, again, Molina did. That's a huge difference compared to a normal catcher or a normal team where the running game comes into effect. That's an extra base, a single to the gap or a double. Now that guy that was on first, he's scoring. I'm getting off topic, but
Well, the thing about it too is, I mean, you think about it now. With having Arenado, where is Carpenter going to play if we don't have the DH this season? Is he going to platoon at second base with Edman, on occasion, or is he just going to spell Arenado and Goldschmidt at the corners when they need a day? Or there's a lot of question marks there too, because you're not going to put a guy making close to 20 million on the bench. So
right.
It just kind of something to think about on what their plans on how to handle Carpenter and going forward this season.
But we're assuming that Mo's done. I mean, maybe there is a deal where we can use part of that 50 million. We eat part of Carp's salary and we send him to Seattle or somebody like that, far enough out of our area that we wouldn't deal with him. But who knows? I mean, we just don't know until Jupiter. We really don't know anything. I mean, the lineup's probably not done. So even then, like you said, I mean, we would have the most expensive bench in baseball. But I mean, even then, is Carp going to say, with my ego, I really don't want to be a bench player and bring this team down? Like you said earlier, he's a team guy. He really does love this team. Maybe he decides, I'm going to just call it quits. I've got no place to play on this team. I'm not a charity case. Let me move on. I mean, we don't know what his mindset is. Maybe he's had that conversation with Mo. So, I mean, he could. What if he did like Matt Holliday, defer a bunch of his money over the course of the future and just go ahead and call it quits? So like I said, until we have that first game, we really don't know. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I still think the designated hitter will be in the National League. I'm 95% sure that's my personal belief. I'm not trying to make a prediction, but I still think that will happen. And if the DH is for sure going to be in the National League, I see Carp will definitely be your designated hitter, and we'll give those guys. He could give Edman, Wong, whoever's at second, first, or third, an occasional day of rest. I definitely don't want to see Goldschmidt start 162 games like he did 2 years ago. I think it definitely wore on him at the end of the year. Saying him and DeYoung both played like every single game, I think. And DeYoung played like 161 games, and you could tell. So I think having him to spell them for the year is a good idea. play first, but I typically would see him as a DH against right-handed pitching for sure. And you put him fifth, and he's got pressure off of him. He's not having to worry about fielding, and you got him behind Arenado now. I think the confidence level, and then you've got a guy, the legit threat that can hit home runs. And if he hits 220, and you've got other guys in the lineup that are producing well, then who cares if he can hit 20 some home runs like he did a couple years ago? Then I'm all for that.
So the current lineup before Arenado, who's the backup first baseman? I mean, look up and down the roster that we would have had prior to this trade. Who plays first base, or because who plays shortstop? If Edman's playing second base every day, who's, are we going to bring a Sosa up or one of those other guys from minors? That really
I would say it would have probably been no one dedicated. You're right, but I would say it would have been probably a rotation to where Carp would have played first, Edman would have played second, and then Carp maybe could have went. It would be a mixture, a la of who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third type deal, but it would be the same guys just moving positions. I think for the most.
I know I joked with Jared when we got on here. I said, can you imagine like, with the news of us getting Arenado, that Colton Wong's calling up Mozeliak being like, bring me back on a 1-year deal, or, I'll take a cheap contract and bring me back.
I'll pay you. Let me play.
Yeah.
Those rings are expensive. Let me play.
I think this has been in the works for a while because like we were all three talking before we jumped on here, we even said Wainwright mentioned in his, signing conference or whatever, that there were a lot of good things in the works, but he kind of gave us an inside picture before because, Mozeliak is kind of like Marvel Studios, right? You're not getting anything out of him. He's basically an oath of silence. You're not going to get any spoilers out of him. But Waino kind of said there's a lot of things going on. He said he had more money on the table from 2 other teams, which I do firmly believe he probably did with the way he's pitched the last couple of years. But I know he wanted to stay in St. Louis. And then whenever you start talking about different things, in bringing in Arenado, obviously I'm sure that Gersh and Mozeliak are communicating this to him. Here's what we have in the work. Here's what we're trying to do, Waino, for last year. We want you to come back. We're trying to piece something together. And it looks like that's what they're trying to do because, worst case scenario, you get, like we said, you get Arenado for a year. You got Waino for another year. I can't see this also forces the hand for Molina. Why would he not want to come back? He doesn't need the money. He's going to get a decent amount of money. It's not like he's going to come back and play for free or be a charity case by any means, but he's not going to get $20 million. He doesn't deserve $20 million, but he's going to come back. And I don't know if you guys read the story from Derek Gould late last night. I shared it on the page earlier today, but when Waino accepted the deal and was getting ready to go talk with the Cardinals, he actually called Yachty, and Yachty was playing in a game in catcher's gear, talking to him on the side of the field, telling him what he was doing. So they're in close, and I do think Yachty is coming back. We don't have an official deal. Everyone says after this Caribbean series is over, and I think that's been mandated by the Cardinals, not so much Yachty. I think Yachty probably already would have signed, but they are waiting to see just in case what happened if Yachty broke his leg or got hit by a pitch in the hand and broke his hand. I think the Cardinals were trying to be cautious in case something happened. But I think it's a foregone conclusion. Then you got Yachty behind the dish working with someone like Arenado. We've seen pickoffs at first and third before when Yachty's got confidence that that's going to hold runners better than a pitcher would. When you got a guy leading off on third or first, people undervalue. Everyone on our page says, well, he hit 2, he doesn't hit it on home runs. He hits 2. I don't give a damn if he hits 120. Just like how when he first came up, he couldn't hit. But he was so good defensively. He was much better then. I'm not saying he's the same guy he was then, but you have to put that pitcher's ERA, controlling the pitching staff, guys like Martinez, Reyes, these guys that get in their own head when he can go out and he takes control and he doesn't go out and argue. They listen to him. He's the field general. And if you got a guy leading off on third and Yachty can throw some snap throws down to Aaron, the ball's not getting past Goldschmidt or Arenado unless there's someone kind of hits the umpire at the base or something. You might have a rarity, but you can throw and try to pick guys off with confidence. And it's going to control the running game all around the infield. Pitchers are going to be better. They're going to pitch to contact because they're not going to be worried about. I think we're pretty solid all around the field. I'd say our weakest position is probably going to be right fielder. Fowler is going to be, and that's not all that weak. He was a hell of a fielder just not too long ago. So I think this and it forces Yachty's hand, and something could happen with Wong to where they say, hey, let's sign a deal for a few years. We're going to have Dex and Carp coming off. Those guys are not going to be re-signed. I don't care what anyone. Those guys are, when their contract's up, they're gone. They could say, hey, we're going to pay you $2 million this year, 3, 4 maybe, and then next year you're going to make 8, then 12, then 15. I can see something in the nature of that happening. So when COVID is in the past, hopefully in the next 4 years it will be. It's a mute issue. But I don't know. What do you think this does? Do you think these factors had anything to do, Chris, with how much did Arenado play a factor into Wainwright, and how much of a factor does it play with Yachty, do you think?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I was thinking that Wainwright and Molina would have came back anyway. Just the fact of last year there not being any fans in the stands, and you'd hate to see them that be how they go out, without a huge reception from fans. So, like in my mind, I think both of them would have somehow came back to St. Louis if Arenado wasn't a part of the deal. But you wave that little carrot in front of them, and I mean that's a no-brainer. That if they want a real shot at the title, and I know Wainwright's on Twitter, 12-21. I think this is really a shot in the arm, like an injection of life. Of we're more than just a competing team; we're a contending team. So I think that was more than enough to get him on board, and I'm sure Molina will be soon to follow.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think Waino knew ahead of time, Larry? Do you think Yachty knew ahead of time, and this factors into their deals? Like, hey, let's get it done, or do you think no, they're going to come back anyways?
Like you and I were talking about earlier, Arenado would have been working out in Arizona, and instead he was working out in Florida. So I'm sure there was something up along the way, and I'm sure when you sit down and you're negotiating a contract, here are the good sides of this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have this third baseman that has a few Gold Gloves. He's going to be over there. So we just got to get that deal worked out, but we're trying to get it done. Or you can go out to, you can pick the family up and you can move across the country and go to San Diego. Whether we like it or not, or whether we see it or not, I should say, Wainwright is a hometown type guy. He loves the St. Louis area. He loves this team. He is from Georgia, so it's not that far to his hometown. To pick his family up, move across the country for one season makes no sense at his age. And he's not in it for the money anymore. This is just purely that he loves the game. So I think that's a lot of factors with all that coming in. You look at that, you say, hey, here's what we have here's the options available on this model for the 2021 year. You can buy the Corvette or you can go across town and get the Classic. So that's the differences, I believe. I think that did make a huge difference.
I think you're right, Larry. I think it comes down to the fact of, I want to play in St. Louis. I want to make more money, and I think he's leaning that way anyways. But whenever they say, here's what we're trying to do, here's what we're trying to make happen, you're like, okay, all right, let's get this contract signed. What do I do? Because it all came together very quickly. And the same thing with Yachty, I watched Wainwright's interview last night on MLB 10. I don't know if you guys did also, but he even said, he was a Braves fan. He was drafted by the Braves, grew up. He was a big Schmaltz fan, right? He said, even after that, he went to play for the Red Sox, and then he came over to the Cardinals after they cut him. He's like, I love playing with Schmaltz, but it just didn't seem right seeing him in a different uniform that didn't have that Atlanta Braves A on it. And he said, and I thought I couldn't see myself in another uniform. I mean, he tried to visualize himself, said it would be weird. He'll be wearing a red jacket as soon as he possibly can for the Cardinals for sure. This is just a big deal altogether, but I think Arenado helped push the deal done. I mean, I don't think it's all about money for Wainwright. I think he's one of the few guys that's not about money, because I think he didn't want to stay in St. Louis. He wants to finish, obviously, and I think he wants to play with Yachty. So I think Arenado helped force Wainwright's hand, and Waino said, okay, let's get it. And I think both of them together are forcing Yachty's. It was just announced by John Morosi of MLB.com that Molina is expected to re-sign with the Cardinals at the end of the series, which we'd already heard, but now they have a date on February 6th at the latest, possibly before. So in the next week, the Yadier contract might be, like I said, it's not official, so who knows? He could get hurt or what. But with all these other catchers coming off the board, I don't see anyone else making a big push. I think this might even help us save a couple $1 million. What say you, Larry?
It's, hey, hey, Yachty, we're gonna get the band back together. Let's do this for another year. I mean, it's hey, let's get the band back together and come on over here and let's hang out for another season.
I thought, what the hell is he doing? Is he taking a phone call when you?
I am. I'm a busy man. I took time out to sit with you guys. I've got 6 other podcasts to do. My manager's working on this for me.
Hey, it's producer. It's producer. Get it right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shortened it.
Chris, how do you give me your rundown? I want to hear you real quick with Arenado in the lineup, and let's say Molina's here. Give me your hopeful batting order. Where do you see the team lining? You're the manager. Opening day. Give me your 1 through 9 with the DH.
Oh man, Seth, I know it's kind of like what you said. You go Edman first. I think he'd be your typical leadoff type bat. Carlson second because he's going to get to see some pitches to hit. I'm not sure if I would flip Goldie and Arenado 3 and 4. I don't know. I'd probably start out with Goldschmidt batting third and Arenado fourth. Fifth, I might, if we've got the DH, I might put Carpenter there.
Mm-hmm. Just to throw a lefty in there too. Break up some of the, yeah.
And then kind of depending on the outfield, I mean, Dexter's probably going to be your everyday starter, but between Bader and O'Neill, that just kind of round out. DeYoung, though, I don't know where I want to slot him. Maybe right behind Carpenter, maybe in the 6th spot.
Yeah. What say you, Larry? You see the lineup being pretty much the same?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'd like to see Carlson bat second, and with Edman leading off. Then, of course, like I said, with DeYoung, that's the hard one. It really is. I mean, do you split up the lefty righty? I mean, do you drop him? Because you got Dex as a switch hitter, but if O'Neill's in there, then you got back-to-back left-handers. So or no, he's a righty. Yeah, O'Neill's righty.
Yeah, so, Carlson's a switch.
Yeah, and Dexter's a switch. So yeah, I mean, it just like I said, I guess it depends on who's your outfield makeup.
Tommy Edmonds a switch hitter too. Sorry,
right? Yeah, but I mean, he's going to be slotted top of the lineup. He's got all the speed, so you're going to leave him there unless he just really struggles. Then maybe Carlson drops to the 1. I don't know. So, but DeYoung has to bat probably around 6th, maybe 7th. It depends on the lineup, like you said, because you can even drop if Yachty comes back. He's going to make contact.
Yeah.
So that's the good thing about dropping him someplace in like a 6 or 7.
I would definitely. My lineup doesn't have Harrison Bader in it, so I'm sorry, ladies. I'm going to say Edmonds your leadoff guy. Yeah, Edmonds your leadoff guy. Carlson second. Goldschmidt, Arenado. Then you're going to have Carp at DH. My 6th guy would be Tyler O'Neill in left field because I've got Carlson playing center field. You got a power guy coming in 6th. Then I've got, sorry, Yachty, but I've got DeYoung at 7. I've got Molina at 8. And then I've got Fowler 9, switch hitting, back of the order. And then you've got the old Tony La Russa deal to where, when he used to have the pitcher bat 8th, because then the 9th guy is kind of like a second leadoff guy. I would be fine with having Dex be that secondary leadoff guy later innings, kind of getting us our re-jump, and Yachty's kind of at the end. And Yachty's still a good threat. I was saying the other day to Chris, if a game's on the line and it's down to the end, even though Yachty would be batting 8th, he'd still be the guy I'd want to be, hitting or at the plate with runners on with a tight game because he's just so clutch. And Bader to me is a defensive replacement for Fowler, or if you want to shift and put Carlson in left to save his legs a little bit toward the end of the game, or say it's a 9th inning of a game and Molina does get on, then you pinch run for him. He's 39 years old. Okay, we don't need the legs. And you've got Kinsler still in the dugout that you can throw in a catcher, but Bader is a defensive replacement for me, pinch runner. Someone gets hurt, whatever. He doesn't make my starting lineup. I don't see how you can have a guy like O'Neill, who they keep saying every year needs to get a fair chance and doesn't get a fair chance and still won a Gold Glove. I think it's make or break for a lot of these guys. Then you've got Justin Williams, who's going deeper into the lineup, but this changes the whole dynamic of things. Justin Williams, this is last year. If he doesn't make the roster, he's off the team. So you have to, and then you've got Thomas and these other guys. That's why I'm surprised we pulled the straight off and kept so much of our depth and our top talent. We didn't give up a Thomas. I thought a Bader O'Neill were going to go with Kinsner and a couple of pitchers.
You still
Who's
got
that, sorry?
Dean out there. Dean, you still got Dean.
Oh, I forgot about Austin Dean. I mean, we can cut him, can't we? I mean,
we've got 10 outfielders.
yeah, we've got a lot of outfielders and nowhere to put
And
them.
that's why I want to keep going back to, maybe Mo's not done. Maybe there is another deal. You move a Bader with a Carpenter, or maybe Dexter decides he wants to go back and play Houston as last year where he started. He loved Houston at the time. His wife's from Houston, so maybe that there's always those options out there that you never know. So yeah. I mean, 2 days ago we're whining. What are we going to do about power? What are we going to do about a bat? Now we got Arenado. So
this is why a big trade like this makes such a huge difference. And I've always been a Mazalok and Gersh fan, and people seem to bash them, but we're one of those rare teams where we're spoiled. We contend every year, or we're close. We needed to make a bat move, but I think they have honestly tried to make something happen. This deal here is just the way it's been worked is just genius. This should go down. Before we got Goldschmidt, it was the same way. People thought, oh, we're not going to get Goldschmidt. And they pulled off a Goldschmidt trade, and what did we give up? A couple guys we weren't using anyways.
Spare parts.
Yeah, spare parts.
I think that's Mazalak's most underrated thing with the whole association with the fans. We make trades for spare parts. I mean, even Randy Arena, he was not a player that was projected to start. I mean, there was never that option. Sierra, he was never projected as a starter. And then Pham kind of worked his way out of favor with everybody anyway. He's done it everywhere he's gone so far. So
I never liked that guy. I mean, never mind. I was going to say something about getting stabbed, but I won't. But I could see somebody wanting to stab him, like what really happened. But yeah, we gave up a good outfield, and look at us, we're still contending. We traded away Randall Grichuk, Stephen Piscotty, Tommy Pham, who were all great players and doing very well for their new teams. But even I think like a year or two ago, in the middle of a broadcast, McLaughlin straight up asked, I believe it was Rick Horton, like, I trade away those guys. I would rather have that outfield right now, wouldn't you? And he said, oh yeah, definitely. And they said that on TV, So but we're still contending. But O'Neill, we haven't seen much. The Bader experiment, I think, has kind of ran its course. I don't think he's a horrible player. I just don't think he fits with what we're trying to do. If he starts, like I said, I'm not going to be too upset about it. But I think Carlson is your center fielder for now. I don't think he's a center fielder 4 years from now, but I think right now he is. I'd rather see the bats in the lineup. He's not hurting you defensively. I want to see O'Neill in left field. I want to see that. I want to see him, especially moving down the lineup, having the potential to crush a 450-foot home run ball. Dexter's at the bottom, no pressure. He's kind of the second leadoff guy. Yeah, hopefully Yachty's got a couple of guys on base. I mean, you could kind of DeYoung and O'Neill and Yachty. You could play with them. I mean, however you put those guys in the lineup, it's not going to hurt me. If you've got DeYoung batting after Carp, it's not going to bother me any. I'm just trying to take stress off of DeYoung because I think when he didn't have the stress a couple years ago when Ozuna and everything else, he seemed like he hit a lot better and had a lot more power because we were just talking, oh, there's another young home run for Young. I even think Jerko being in the lineup helped Young because he didn't have as much pressure on him to do something. And I think that's been in his head, and that's why his strikeouts have went up. But
he was playing every day. He didn't have a legitimate backup player behind him. So he was forced into action. He was playing, 158 games or whatever it was that year. Mm-hmm. And second half, if you look at the numbers, they fell off at the All-Star break that year. They made the All-Star team.
Oh yeah, he played 161 games, and Goldschmidt played 162.
And that's huge, and that's even like with Bader. When you look at that, how long did Cincinnati Reds wait for that center fielder with all the speed? The goal. Oh, what's his name? They just let him go a couple years ago.
Yep. Billy Hamilton.
Hamilton. Yeah, he was the next greatest thing ever. And then Houston had that Michael Taylor. He was the center fielder with all the speed, and he was going to be that next guy. And that's what they do. They fall in love with that speed, that tool, and he can field. I mean, and he's a good ball player. He's just not a hitter.
It's a perfect example, Larry. I'm glad you brought that up. What's the big emphasis on the whole movie of the movie Moneyball, right? Why do you like this guy so much? Because he gets on base. Yeah, you can't steal first.
Correct.
And Bader is a good defensive player, but like I said, you put Carlson out there or an O'Neill. Obviously, O'Neill wins a Gold Glove, and he played a decent amount of time. And is he a Gold Glove outfielder in a normal season? I don't think so, but he's definitely above average. So I mean, you've got O'Neill in left, Carlson in center. Dexter Fowler is going to play, and I think he should. I think he played better last year too, other than when he got sick and had the stomach thing, the COVID.
What people forget is his power. He's got that newfound power that Dexter came with all of a sudden a couple years ago. So
he's got power. He hits from both sides of the plate. I mean, having Fowler is not a bad thing. So
the negatives everybody's going to talk about in this trade is going to be the splits away for Arenado away from Colorado. That's going to be the biggest thing. We talked about when we started talking about the show. We started talking about those splits and looking at those numbers. And the things that really jump out at me is that in our division, the worst team he hits against is the Cubs. And that's a 299 clip for batting average. So, I really don't care what he does in San Diego or Arizona anymore. Those don't apply to us. So the guy coming, they're saying a 263 average away from Colorado, but he's still a contact hitter and he's still a power hitter. So in our division, hell, he could still hit 300.
Well, he's an MVP caliber player is the whole point of that. So I mean, I don't pay anything to that stuff too. Just like how I'm going to circle back to you again, Larry, where you were talking about Arozarena, and I'm going to throw Luke Voigt in there. Those guys were not guaranteed to be stars for us. The whole change of scenery could have been beneficial for them. I think Arozarena going to Tampa Bay, young team, having a for sure spot was definitely a factor for him. But we did, like you said, we didn't have a spot for him. We can say what if all the time. I mean, just like how we talked, just like this trade here, Chris said earlier, who's going to be the next Arozarena? I mean, you don't know. So do you say, well, one of these guys could be really good, so let's just pass on this Arenado deal unless he wants to just come over here for free and pay us.
I mean, a lot of our fan base in our group looks at even like Marcell Ozuna. He goes over to Atlanta and now he's a power threat. He's an MVP candidate. Well, I'm sorry, he was here for 3 seasons. He didn't project those numbers in St. Louis. I mean, if you want to compare reality, what did Matt Adams do when he landed in Atlanta? Remember, he was the hottest bat in baseball right after he got moved to Atlanta. So a change of scenery, a new destination, a new field, it makes a huge difference. And now you bring an Arenado away from a situation where he disliked the situation. I mean, he'll tell you flat out his best friend is his Story. That's his best friend. And now here he is moving away from him. That's different. But the GM, the situation, I mean, we've all had jobs that you've not wanted to go to work. I don't want to get up and go. Does that affect your work performance? Of course it does. And so now, again, when you evaluate talent, it's still a risk. It's your eye versus my eye. Like you said earlier, you made fun of Carpenter's lollipop throws from third to first. To me, I don't care what that throw looks like. He gets the outs. If you look at the percentage-wise, Carpenter still makes the outs. Then that's all that matters. I don't care if he rolls that ball to first base. And I grew up in the Ozzie Smith era when his shoulder went south. He bounced the ball off the turf to pick up 2 to 5 miles per hour on his ball just to get it over there. And, I mean, I wouldn't replace Ozzie Smith at short with anybody. I'm sorry. I don't care today's modern game, I wouldn't. And so, and that's the long-term effects or looks that you have to see. You can't just say, like, Randy had a great postseason. Great. Yep, we may have missed out on a great October. How come he didn't start in August? He's on that team and nobody started him. He was on the bench. He was coming in as a platoon player. So they didn't even see how good he was.
They had some injuries, like Austin Meadows and stuff went down, and they had COVID stuff, and That, I think if not, he never would have got that chance either if that happened.
Exactly. And that's the thing. You know, we sit here and we can play hindsight all we want. It doesn't make a difference. All I know is we landed a guy with more gold gloves than any other third baseman in the league right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of which, too, he's won 8 Gold Gloves. He's an 8-time Gold Glove shortstop, a 4-time Platinum Glove winner. The only other person I've heard of getting that many would be probably close to Yachty. Yachty has 3, I think, 3 or 4. He's a 5-time All-Star and a 4-time Silver Slugger. So you're getting a guy that does things on both sides of the baseball as far as defense and offense. His last full season was 2019. He had 41 home runs, 118 RBIs. He hasn't got under 100 RBIs with the exception of last year being a short season since 2014, his second league in the year, and he only played in 111 games. So you're definitely getting a guy that has some offensive ability, and we already know he doesn't make errors. He doesn't make mistakes at the hot corner. So
that's going to be a hot jersey sale too. I think there'll be tons of Arenado jerseys being sold right now.
I would assume he's still going to be number 28. Nobody else on the team is that anyone cares about. So I would assume he's going to keep that number.
Yep. Number 28 on the field, number 1 in our heart. Nolan Arenado.
I'm assuming probably they're saying the details of the deal will probably finalized Monday. I would say the Cardinals will probably have a press conference Tuesday or Wednesday to announce the signing, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wainwright is there as well. So
and Yachty, and Wong.
Yachty will be playing.
Yeah, he's still playing.
He's playing in that Caribbean series, which I thought was weird, anyways. But hey, more power to him, I guess. For the love of the game, I guess.
I say play as much as you can while you can. You miss it when you're done.
That's true. That's why I keep playing. That's why I've been playing in the fall league, Arizona Fall League every year because I'm so good.
Is that it?
That is exactly it. But for everybody watching, I do want to throw out, obviously, in our Facebook group, Chris will post a link to the YouTube channel. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of those things if you can, please. We're going to start doing some giveaways pretty soon. Some of them will be similar to what you see behind me. Not these are my personal collection, so you can't have those, but very similar ones. We're going to be doing some different giveaways of some memorabilia and stuff that I'm going to do. But in order to receive those, we'll announce them ahead of time, but you have to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel and be a member of our Facebook group in order to be eligible for those prizes. And as the season goes on, depending, I don't know, maybe we'll do something a little more elaborate once we figure out what's going on with the season. But I have some extras and I deal with the collectibles. So I think it would be kind of a fun thing to have those out. And all you have to do is do what you're probably already doing anyways, is following us and liking the page. Obviously, this is a podcast of Cardinals Nation 24/7, our Facebook page and group that was started by the Bearded Dragon. On the podcast with me, Chris Lawless. Larry and I have been involved for some time, and then we have the rest of our team, which will make sporadic appearances on the podcast as we go along. We're going to start doing these regularly, but we wanted to do a special edition bonus episode, just like we did when Wayno resigned, and hopefully we're doing another 1 or 2 of these pretty soon, but we're going to start launching on a regular basis, and Chris will update everyone when that is, since he lives on the page. Yeah. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add myself. Chris, anything you want to add?
No, I think especially getting somebody like Nolan Arenado, the group is filled with a lot of positive posts, and it's not everybody down in the dumps thinking that we're just kind of standing pat and not doing anything. I think this really gives some life to a lot of fans out there that are excited about Cardinal baseball again. And what better place than the Cardinals Nation 24/7 group to come share that. So that's great. And hopefully they'll tune in and subscribe and like and share these videos. We appreciate all of them that listen.
And I think Larry had some information we're going to share with you guys soon too. He doesn't have the information in front of him, obviously, but we're talking, and Larry's kind of spearheaded the charge of getting us some shirts and some different things together. So hopefully we'll present some of that to the group before too long. A lot of people have been asking about it. So we'll get that to you soon as we can as well. Larry, do you have anything else you want to add?
Welcome to the Birds in the Bat, Mr. Nolan Arenado.
Exactly. I like that. I'm excited. I'm pumped about it. Just like I'll tell everyone the same thing I said the other day. Take this signing, enjoy it. Just like I said with Wayno, it is a big deal, regardless of how upset people think. But Cardinals have been working on this for over a year. They finally made it happen. This is a big move that doesn't happen very often. It's a la Mark McGuire, Jim Edmonds, Scott Rowland type maneuver. And now we're just working our way up to our second MV3. So we're working on that again, too. So hopefully this isn't the end. Hopefully the Yachty signing will be official soon. And maybe Wong, we don't know. I think this kind of shuts him out of the picture a little more, closes that window a little bit. I know Chris is upset, but hopefully not. But I don't have anything else to add. You guys?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, check the link. Comment, subscribe, like. Let us know. We'll start announcing some little things we're going to do for drawings here pretty soon. Please tell your friends, get them to the page, get them to like and follow us as well. We do appreciate it. For all of the loyal fans, if you want to submit suggestions or questions to us or to Chris, feel free to do so. We're going to also do some Q&A stuff once we get up and rolling. If you guys have certain questions you want to ask us, since we're so professional and so smart and we all look amazing.
Good looking. That's the biggest one. Good looking.
That's the big deal. So why we're doing the video thing. We're like, we want people to see.
Sexy voice is one thing, but good looking's another.
Mm-hmm. And Tony Schiavone's going to join us in a week or two, I think, from AEW. So be prepared for that. But I don't have anything else. Follow us on the page, Twitter, Instagram. Chris, Larry, thanks. It's a pleasure seeing you guys and talking baseball with you guys. It's always a lot of fun. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys, and go Cards.
Go Cards.